The most advanced phones we have today, amazing electric cars that accelerate in seconds, and massive drones conquering the skies. From the outside, they look like the technological peak of humanity. But in reality, they are all tied to a massive shackle. The name of that shackle is the battery. The batteries we use today are the invisible limit of the modern world and those bright technologies of the future. You have to plug your phone in every night. You have to calculate charging stations when going on a long trip with your electric car. However, such a big storm is currently brewing in the scientific world that we are on the verge of a technology that will completely eliminate these limits. What if a technology, in the same size as the battery you are holding now, offered you 3 times the range, a charging time that takes minutes, and a safety that absolutely never burns? This is why many experts, from Silicon Valley to Asia, believe that humanity's next big revolution will not happen in artificial intelligence or glowing screens, but in the dark inner world of batteries. This technology is preparing to leave the laboratories and change the world. Welcome to solid-state batteries. To understand this new technology, we first need to understand why we are stuck today. From the phone in your pocket to the car at your door, lithium-ion batteries currently rule our lives. These batteries were actually a great invention and won their inventors the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2019. But every technology has a physical limit, and we have exactly hit that wall with lithium-ion batteries. The biggest problem is the energy density limit. In other words, we cannot fit more energy into existing batteries. When we try to fit more, the batteries heat up very quickly and the risk of fire reaches incredible levels. You might have seen electric vehicle fires in the news. Once those batteries catch fire, it can take hours to put them out. Additionally, lithium-ion batteries age over time and lose performance. They are very heavy, and they can take hours to charge. In summary, today's batteries are good for solving our daily tasks, but they are no longer advanced enough for the massive sectors of the future, such as aviation or uninterrupted long-distance travel. Humanity is at a bottleneck, and the way out is taking shape right at this point. So, what exactly is the solid-state battery that will solve this problem? Let's explain it very simply without turning the subject into a boring chemistry lesson. If you open up a traditional battery, you will see that the substance that carries the energy is in a liquid state. This liquid is called an electrolyte. Energy moves from one side of the battery to the other by swimming through this liquid. However, because it is a liquid, it is very prone to heating up, leaking, and worst of all, catching fire. In a solid-state battery, the rules of the game change completely. As the name suggests, that liquid substance through which energy passes is completely removed and replaced with a solid material. This solid material, which can be ceramic, glass, or polymer-based, completely changes the energy transport path inside the battery. That is all it is. Remove the liquid, put in the solid. It sounds very simple, doesn't it? But this small engineering change produces results massive enough to change the fate of the world economy. Let's look at why this small change has started a race worth hundreds of billions of dollars. When a solid material is used instead of a liquid, 3 enormous advantages emerge. The first is much higher energy density. You can squeeze much more energy into a solid-state battery compared to a liquid battery of the same volume. The second is the big revolution in charging time. When you try to fast-charge liquid batteries, they heat up and can explode. However, in solid-state batteries, this heating problem almost disappears. This means that you can charge your electric car in minutes, just like refueling at a gas station, instead of waiting for hours. And the third, and most important, is flawless safety. Since there is no flammable liquid inside to leak or burn, solid-state batteries will not explode even if you fire a bullet at them. So, what will ultimately convince consumers around the world to accept electric vehicles will not be the engine power, autonomous driving features, or screens, but this safe and fast battery revolution. Let's take a closer look at how this technology will change our daily lives when it hits our streets. When you set off with one of the best electric cars on the market today, you get an average range of 400 or 500 kilometers. When solid-state batteries come into play, this range will exceed 1,000 kilometers on a single charge. And it's not just the range. Today, a huge part of an electric car's weight comes from its battery. When the battery becomes lighter, the car will become lighter. When the car becomes lighter, it will become much more aerodynamically efficient. In addition, existing liquid batteries lose half of their performance in freezing winter conditions. You notice that the car's range suddenly drops in winter. Solid-state batteries, on the other hand, are much more resistant to cold. Currently, giant companies such as Toyota, QuantumScape, Samsung, and Solid Power are in a multi-billion-dollar secret race to integrate this technology into cars. The first mass-production prototypes are counting down the days to hit the roads. However, limiting the event only to electric cars would be the biggest injustice to this vision. Battery technology is the invisible infrastructure of modern life. Think about consumer electronics, phones, computers, and smartwatches. Imagine a phone that lasts for a week on a single charge and is as thin as paper. Or the aviation sector, where the real big revolution will take place. Today, airlines want to zero out their carbon emissions. However, we cannot build an electric passenger plane because lithium-ion batteries are too heavy to lift a plane into the air. The lightness and high energy of solid-state batteries could completely pave the way for electric commercial passenger planes flying short distances. In addition, those massive grid batteries where renewable energies such as wind and solar energy are stored will also become much safer and cheaper with this technology. In short, this technology will reinvent not only your car but all kinds of electricity that is portable. Everything I have described so far sounds like a perfect dream. Then you will rightfully ask this question. If it is this good, why is this technology not in my phone or car right now? This is the most critical and realistic point of the video. Because a technology that works perfectly in the laboratory is not the same thing as a technology that can be manufactured without errors in millions of units in a giant factory. The first problem is production cost. The clean rooms and engineering required to produce solid-state batteries are currently incredibly expensive. Second is the problem of microcracks inside that solid material placed inside the battery. As the battery charges and discharges, it expands and contracts. This movement can lead to fractures within the solid material, quickly ending the battery's life. Also, although laboratory tests for low-temperature performance are very good, it has not yet been proven whether this will remain the same over millions of kilometers on the road. Scalability is currently the biggest nightmare for engineers. This technology has the potential to shake not only laboratories but also global power balances. When the solid-state battery war begins, there will be big winners and big losers in the market. The winners will, of course, be the new battery startups that hold the patents, the technology companies that invest in them, and the electric vehicle manufacturers that use these batteries first. The losers will be the traditional internal combustion engine industry that resists change and the old factories that have tied billions of dollars to the current liquid electrolyte supply chain. However, this war also has a geopolitical dimension beyond companies. Currently, China is the undisputed absolute master of the world in the lithium-ion market. China holds a large portion of the battery production capacity. However, in the solid-state battery race, Japan is trying to change the game with massive investments. The United States and South Korea are providing unlimited state support to solid-state projects to end this Chinese monopoly. In other words, this is not an innocent technology race, it is a global war for industrial independence. Another important detail in the economic dimension of the matter is raw materials. When we switch to solid-state batteries, the map of the world's need for underground resources will also change. Lithium will continue to be the heart of these batteries. However, the chemical formulas in the parts of the battery called the anode and cathode will change completely. The usage rates of very critical minerals such as nickel and cobalt, which cause wars in the world today, may decrease with the new technology or be replaced by brand new metals. This means the following. The battery revolution is not just a technological change, but a change where the mines, economy, and geopolitical trade routes in the world are completely redrawn. There is a rule known to everyone who follows the technology world closely. If a product is being hyped too much, you need to stop and think twice. For years, it was said that systems like flying cars or full autonomous driving would be coming soon, but many were too late or failed to meet expectations. We should look at solid-state batteries with this cautious eye as well. When exactly will it be possible to move to mass production? Will the batteries of the first vehicles on the market be as long-lasting as claimed? And most importantly, will buying this technology cost a massive fortune in the first stage? Although firms point to the year 2027, These dates are always subject to postponement. We are very right to be excited, but we should not expect this revolution to be a miracle that will change everything overnight. The process will be slow, painful, but inevitable. Let's summarize how the world will be shaped when all these problems are solved and that expected day comes. If this massive engineering project is successful, the adoption rate of electric vehicles will increase uncontrollably. Global dependence on fossil fuels and oil will decrease at an incredible speed. Wind and solar energy will be able to enter every home not only in a storable but also in a sustainable way. Both individual and commercial transportation costs will drop dramatically. And most importantly, because a brand new technological industry will be established, brand new world giants whose names we do not even know today will emerge. The real question that needs to be answered is this: can a battery, that tiny little box, single-handedly rewrite the rules of an entire energy era? In our daily lives, we are often only interested in the glowing screens of technology that we can touch. We don't really care what goes on behind those screens. However, it should not be forgotten that the things that have moved human history forward have always been about how we produce energy and how we store it. Perhaps the real technology that will change the future will not be larger engines in cars, faster rockets launched into space, or smarter artificial intelligence software. The real thing that will change the future will be those silent, smaller, and smarter batteries that will power all of them. The next industrial revolution is most likely progressing very quietly. Because this revolution will not store the sound of an engine, but a silent energy. So, what do you think about this revolution? Do you think the era of gasoline cars will close forever when the battery problem is solved? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue uncovering the scenes behind the future.